Hello.
Good evening.
How are you all doing? Is this anybody's first show back? First mingle in the gate. Welcome. Ripping off the plasters. Feels a bit unusual, doesn't it? You're all sort of pensive when you come in at the start of the night, and you probably leave with your top off 6 hours later, having hugged 150 people, thinking I have judged those people far more severely than I intended to over the past 3 months. But we're all here. We survived August as well. There was a bit of an incarnation of an Edinburgh festival. Did anyone go and see stuff? Good. Anyone see our stuff? Good. You're the best. You're the favourites. What else did you see? What was good? That good, was it? Well, we did a show at Edinburgh International Festival. We were down at Fringe by the Sea in North Berwick, and we brought a lot of their Dunbar rivals alongside. That was good. There was seafood afterwards. Matinee show was fucking done by 3 o'clock. It was great. We're live.
It's home in bed by 5, yeah.
So we're live streaming tonight. We're only going to live stream when people are talking onto the mics and performing. And I've asked young Lee, who's over there, he'll avoid eye contact with everyone because he's one of those guys. Very good with computers though. Very, very good with computers. So I've asked him to flip the switch in between the live acts, just in case you're here to have a bit of a gossip in between the shows. We don't want to project that across the world. So provided you're not talking during the acts, your secrets are safe with us tonight. Does that sound okay?
It was a split decision. I was for having secret microphones and just finding what you guys are talking about. But
Kevin,
he's ruled me out.
Also, you're in the show and you're having a drink and stuff. It's cool. You don't need to wear a mask then. It's up to you if you do, you don't. When you move between the spaces and you go to the bar or the toilet, you are to wear your mask while moving around. You are all sexy, responsible adults, so the regulation has been cast, and I'm going to leave that in your capable hands to see how you handle it.
And we've also gone for this idea. We thought we'll try and create a sort of Wimbledon tennis effect by putting the screen up there and the live acts here, and maybe put it over there. There'll be something happening over there. So, all of you who've got your seats pointed forward thinking, great, it's not going to work out that way. You're going to spin round 180 degrees with the neck, exorcism style.
I'm going to make a request of someone in that back quadrant of the room there, wondering if you could pause the art installation. It's not. It's resistant.
It's a meta thing.
Oh, here is the artist. For those at home, there's an art installation in the corner. It's making the sound of theatre show / a concert / a small riot. And we'll come back to that later in the event. We'll unfurl its colours upon the screen. It's actually good to be live streaming again, because we spent like the last 18 months doing shows, and you had a conversation with the audience at home. And even when we started doing shows again, when there was no live streaming, kept giving a wee wave or a word out to the audience at home, and it felt unusual. So now I'm back in my comfort zone. That was that. We talked through that together. The less said about it from henceforth, the better. So do you want to hear about who's performing tonight? That is normally a crucial ingredient of the show.
And we're kind of, I know you're used to us being so slick and professional and everything kind of works perfectly. Tonight I'm going to have to kind of either grow a 6'6" arm or work it. So what do you think? Just kind of...
I would like to see you jump.
The arm thing.
I mean, don't give people a scientific impossibility.
Never give people choices, man.
And then don't deliver. So perhaps in the order they'll be appearing tonight, perhaps not. We like to keep you guessing in that gonzo fashion that you're going to love us for. Julia Sorensen. We do like sort of game show clap after they all come up, as if they're like the main prize at Big Break, back when Big Break was the game show to watch. So let's try that again. Julia Sorensen! Ellen Renton! Kevin Harman! The Honey Fan! And there's me and Kevin back. Just in sort of subjugatory manner, as humble hosts, we've only gave ourselves initials. MP and KW.
You know, I'm from Orkney originally, and George Mackay Brown, the great poet whose 100th anniversary is coming up on the 17th of October, Sunday 17th of October, he used to have a column in the Arcadian, and they never printed names in the Arcadian. Nobody ever got a byline, and they eventually conceded and they put GMB at the bottom of his columns. So, you know, I thought, we're following in the tradition of the Arcadian. No credit for anybody.
I see that. I thought you were pointing up there, and I thought you were going to bring a story about this photo back to Orkney, and I thought, how is he going to contextualise backstage at the mighty Hull Adelphi up to Orkney? But you didn't.
Yeah,
you stuck with the initials.
I'm not even a proper Arcadian. I was born there, so it kind of counts halfway, doesn't it?
Could be that, yeah.
And I go back out after a few weeks.
Good.
Didn't it?
So, me and Kevin are going to sort of chat to other interesting people at points of this evening, and we're going to kick this off straight away, and I'm going to invite Julia Sorensen up to stage. So Julia, welcome to Reekie.
Thank you. I loved when you put my photo on the screen and everyone was like, who is that? Much shorter, yeah.
We do that, you know, sometimes it's much more uncomfortable than that, and there's a much bigger screen behind the performers.
And a much quieter audience.
Yeah, and they perform with a massive version of their own face behind them. In fact, sometimes we've been heckled by our own performers to remove it. That is the acme of Kevin's visual art, though, so where do we go from there? So, you're a poet. You're a poet of a city, aren't you?
I am the poet laureate of my hometown, which is in Canada. So there's that.
That sometimes gets a woo. That's an interesting thing. But you're not in your hometown of Canada. You're here with us in Edinburgh tonight.
That is what it looks like, yeah.
And you're here to talk about a very Edinburgh-specific project, and that is called a Poetry Mile.
Yes. Poetry Mile is also part of Push the Boat Out, which is Edinburgh's first international poetry festival, which Kev has also co-founded. I work for them, so many hats.
And a Poetry Mile is a sort of walking poetry tour of Edinburgh, isn't it? But it's a tour by map, but also by poem.
Yes, so we have between 20 and 30 poets. That number tends to fluctuate, generally just grow. So I can't tell you exactly how many people, but we have over 70 poems on the app, which is up there. Very beautiful minimalist web app that we've put together. And we have over 70 poems placed all around Edinburgh. So you can go on a nice little tour and listen to a bunch of poets read poetry to you.
Each one of those blue dots is a location-specific poem chosen by one of over 20 poets for a personal reason, or maybe just for kicks, I'm not sure. I've listened to a majority of them, but not them all. There could be a wee sneaky bastard in there that has real no solid context today, but you'll have to do the walks or listen to the app to find out. Now this app is launched successfully today, It's not like Scotland's COVID status app, which has been riddled with technological problems. So you might say that this is a superior art in many respects on account of its successful launchery. I don't think you could use it at customs to get into Greece or Portugal unless you had a customs officer that was particularly enamoured by poetry in apt form and was willing to, I guess, negate his duties as a customs officer for re-listen of your art. But you could give it a try and you could let us know how you get on. Do you think that'll work?
No.
No? Not anywhere? But we'll hear back. We've got a market research team together and we're going to get to the bottom of that. So some of the more interesting locations on the app, there was loads of them there. It's called a poetry mile. Does that mean it's all within a square mile of a certain point?
So that was the idea, but then we had poets be poets and say, I have this thing that is in Portobello, or anywhere else. So it is generally within a square mile of Summer Hall, but we break rules, which is a good thing. So
a poetry mile or thereabouts.
Yes.
And you did a few of the poems yourself, as well as being one of the organisers. Where did you choose?
So I think I have a number on Calton Hill, and also one on the castle, and then there is one poem that is designated specifically to a bin in the Brunsfield Links. You'll just have to find out about that one.
So you're not going to give us a teaser about why it was dedicated to a bin? Did you meet it? Was there a squirrel friend that you had that lived in that bin that you would feed every now and again? That was my first and best guess.
Ooh, do I give that vibe? That's a problem. No, I was biking home one night, and it was like 1 a.m, and the bin was on fire. And I had never seen a bin fire before. It was a very special moment for me. Now it's poetry.
And did you make a confessional, metaphoric comparison to your heart on fire being that bin in New Edinburgh? Now, I've not listened to the poem. If that is the case, I apologise. You gave me a look like, how dare you? And
I feel very predictable because that's pretty much it.
Okay. Sounds good. That's the way I would have went. That's the way I would have went. So would you like to give us a taste of one of the poems? By a taste, I mean the full poem. The whole fucking thing.
Yes, I would love to. This poem is the one on the castle, or designated to the castle, around, thereabouts. It's called Silhouettes. You took the Wednesday stairs by twos, and she trailed you. She knows the height of the steps, so still had her breath at the top. It had been dark long enough for it to get light again. You'd waited while she'd filled glasses for hours and become thirsty herself. You couldn't take in the names of the horizon silhouettes as she listed them. You didn't have the time to build a frame of reference. Days after, you saw the steeple again. Explained you like it's red. She said she thinks they must repaint every year so the color doesn't fade. She says she thinks the shutters seem to be bleeding, that the church is a fish whose gills lack oxygen and are hemorrhaging. If Scarlet itself has a spine, you've passed over its vertebrae 4 times. First, you met her in the lowlands, telling her how you, looking down, mistook the Great Lakes for the ocean. Then you nodded, off on the train to and from the highlands, hearing tabs pop and speech slur. She, distracted, accustomed by now to the sound of sipping marrow, was caught up, mourning the loss of you a week before your leaving. As you crossed them later for the last time, half asleep, you pondered the logic of abandonment, dreamt that those derelict boats could be models of some rib cage, drowning and disintegrating. She takes the Saturday stairs by twos, trailing small red drops up the steps to a past where someone's numbed nose must have been weeping. Alone, she gets to the top and sees misbuttoned collars and drooping eyes parked behind bright headlights, notes a need to hold her breath, hold her chest to her knees. Streetlights come on below in this moment, and she sits, imagining holding on with one hand and swinging herself round the cross on that steeple, shuddered with gills bleeding. She wonders where this feeling sits in the body, behind a belch in the throat, under the sternum, in the bulge of the bottom of the belly. It is the split-second hope that comes when a seagull, hooting like you, startles her on that early morning walk back from the bus stop. It is the street smelling of brewery caramel, and it is legs strangled by a stained skirt, walking home late. It is her saying, a week earlier, after a period of blurred and blissful distraction, wait a moment so I can remember you, just like that, sitting there, a silhouette with an apple, eating. Thank you.
So that's the wee taste. 1 of 3.
Yes.
One
One
of
of
three.
4. 1 of 4.
One of
There's
4.
2 on Calton Hill, just couldn't decide.
I've got one up Cotton Hill as well.
I
sort
think
of.
I meant
It
to
might have
make...
moved.
They tend to do that. We're
Yeah.
trying to fix that problem. I'm just kidding. The app works perfectly.
Oh no, it's good. I mean, the city's all movements and wayward visions and stuff. I think a little bit of malleability works for it. So I was a voracious bastard and did 5 poems. You were supposed to do 3, but I was consulted really early on when they were thinking about having less poets and more poems. So I think at one point there was going to be 10. So I was writing away at all of these, and then I sort of reached 5, and then they decided to pull it back to 3, and then I was left with a surplus. And now I've just sprawled 5 across the app.
We weren't that upset about it.
There's a lot of Michael.
It's all
There's
right.
a lot of Michael.
We'll tolerate it. It's okay.
So I'm going to do one of those for you. So we are doing an event at the Sheep Seed as a sort of we'll call it a secondary launch for the app. This is the premiere one, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't necessarily mean that one's not going to be better. This is still good.
I mean, there's
In case you were wondering.
really good food involved in that one, so...
So you get a game of Skittles. Anyone been to the Sheep Head? So there's an old Skittle alley at the back. And when I was wee, for about 5 years, I was the Skittle boy. And it felt like, it was my first position of power. I was pretty chuffed with it. And I wrote a poem about it called The Skittle Boys Code of Conduct. There's no official Skittle Boys Code of Conduct. But if there was, I'd have been its draftsman. Chief Ball Boy at the Sheephead Inn Skittle Alley, Duddingston Village, Edinburgh, February 97 through May 01. Mum had to fib to get me in. 13 and over, they said. Me, a fresh 12 with a mendicant's guile. In Skittles, there's no holes in the balls. That'll catch folk. Some sanctimonious prick will sucker shame the newbies for not having known this. But don't fret, he's pure bombast. I've seen him gutter punk and spider. Anyway, I'm not supposed to be reading that one. That was just a little taste of the Sheep Seed and the Skittle one, because that's my opening piece there, so I've got to lure you along to the show that night. But I'm reading with Jeanette Ayachi and Peter Mackay, 2 brilliant poets, very different voices and aspects of Edinburgh. There'll be some Gaelic poetry in there. Jeanette's last collection won Best Collection at Salter Awards a few years ago, and we're going to walk you through the park a wee bit, if you can be arsed, or you can just meet us at the pub. You can play some Skittles, you get a pub lunch, a drink, and regaled with poems in between. Of course, you run the gauntlet of winning eternal Skittle and glory if you get a strike at the same time. So if you're into that, come along.
When is it?
That's a very good question, thank you very much. That would be very helpful for the audience at home. It is on Saturday, the 16th of October. I like that you're writing that down. Feel like you're going to win. That's right, I'm a fucking Skittle and champion. We'll see how this goes. What's the prize? It better not be the second half of that poem. So, this is a poem. I sort of based it up Calton Hill, because that was convenient. It's a love poem to buildings. In fact, it's a love poem to buildings of Edinburgh that are no longer there. 2 buildings that I found very, very sexy. but a lot of people didn't, so much so they have since been knocked down. In fact, they were considered two of Scotland's main eyesores. I feel differently, so I've written to romance them back. One is Kilkenzie Power Station, the other is the Portobello High School edifice, the old one, the sort of fire hazard ugly one, that was the bastion of my education. 6 years there, this is where it gets you. Edinburgh's fallen. Kilkenzie, I'd just like to point out, I've now got a clipboard. It has my name on it, in sparkly gold. It says Michael. I've taken the last 18 months out on COVID to up my professionalism as a host and compere, and this is what it looks like. I didn't think I could go on without drawing some attention to that. Kilkenzie Power Station's twin chimneys once stood 150 metres above Preston Pan's ice cream van, a coal-fired colossus, billowing clots of pewter cloud, profane in its massiveness. Portobello High School marred the skyline. No plutocrat earned every inch of its staunch shadow. Porty's first partisan. From undefeatable gladiators flaunting weaponry to clapped-out greyhounds hiding a limp. When they blew up the power station, thousands revelled, climbed hills, took to the beaches and boarded boats with picnics. Countdowns swelled, misfired, looped back, the beans kept jumping until boom. First fire dust rifled its gut, like popping candy fed to the swans. Then the chimneys crumbled inwards, embraced like drunk friends, falling, laughing. We surveyed from a verdant summit, toasted it as Hogmanay, snogged, watched again on YouTube with a soundscape in slow motion. Spectral voices mooing as the bricks unzipped, disappearing behind a powder. The last opal of smoke the dragon issued saw it choke on its own ash. The high school met a more shameful demise, stripped down in stages over an aeon, robbed of its cape, finger bones broken, gouged by metal claws until lower than a double-decker bus, loose wires fraying in wind ugly as unfair grief, all the dignity of a tiger in a cage at a cocktail party, a crab launched at a rock. What happened to Merry Christmas, tattooed on its brow by some brave bastard held out the windows by their ankles? What happened to the bats guarding the greenhouse, the spider plants that kept growing though creosote black fed only fag ends, to the carrier bags caught on pigeon wire like geese wrung by the neck, to the slip in the middle of the stairwell, a spit and piss speckled portal down which objects and fluids like asteroids flew, over 1,000 deaths extincted, all those names scraped into their pelts, manifestos, declarations. What happened to the cupboard the music teacher shagged a student in, which definitely happened? Junior assured me his sister went seen it. Junior with a lisp who OD'd. What happened to Junior besides his dying to my first kiss, first punch, first balk at the ache of the bullied for the far off, because we can't plan our hunger just where it takes us. Kilkenzie was handed a queen's sword to fall on. Portobello died a death of 1,000 cuts. I'm not saying I'd switch them. Who am I to condemn the heart of a heretic? It's enough to be here when they're not. So check out the app. Kevin's going to tell you about a movie. I'm glad we've got started this way.
Thanks, Michael and Julia, for the lovely poems, new poems about Edinburgh. And I know you've not been out much for the last year and a half, which means you've accumulated loads of money. I read The Guardian, it said it's all been spent on Netflix and sex toys, but what you've got left over, spend it on Push the Boat Out Festival, Edinburgh's first ever international poetry festival on the 15th to 17th of October. It's going to be amazing. It'll have poetry, films, walks, gadgets, things you can do, goggle boxes, and chess. Yeah, I'm actually going to be appearing as Bobby Fischer, which I've always wanted to do because I can't play chess like him, but I'm going to wear a suit like him and play Boris Spassky as part of the show. So check the programme if you want to know what that's all about. Anyway.
Game 6.
It's called Game 6, yes, and any chess heads in there know what Game 6 between Boris Spassky and... no, you don't. Anyway. Right, so we'll swiftly move on. And while we're moving on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a short movie. It's 9 minutes long, and when it's on, I'm going to nip out and I'm going to get a couple of wee long benchy things. I'm going to slide them in there when you're all looking that way. You won't spot me like I just walked across Michael and Julia the last time. So secretly. And you can turn your chairs round, but you can do it really loud. You can sort of pick them up and go clunk if you want to watch this film facing that way. And I'm okay about that. So do a loud clunk. You've been doing that all night. This is like tennis without a ball. Anyway, the film's it's quite a famous film in its own right. In other words, on YouTube. And it's called The Gunslinger. I just thought I'd put it up here because normally I show quite dark stuff. And nobody wants to see any dark stuff yet. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen that stuff.
Okay, right. I'll just go and switch you over to some dark stuff. Okay, and I'll get those benches.
Now it is time to turn. Wasn't that an incredible film, everybody? So, after hearing her voice stridently pumped through our speakers in the room and witnessing that collaboration, we're very chuffed to be bringing you this poet tonight. I read with Ellen quite a few years ago at Hidden Door Festival, was mesmerised by her then. Since then we've caught some of the video single collaborations she's done with Lord of the Isles, and she's very recently had a book come out called An Eye for an Eye for an Eye, which was titularly name-checked in that film on the amazing Stu Drubar press. She'll also be reading at Push the Boat Out Festival as part of their showcase. If you could give a warm round of applause to Ellen Renton.
Thank you for watching the film. I feel a bit bad for taking that. I did the least bit of work for that film. I just wrote the poem and then gave it off to the musician and the dancers and the filmmaker. But lovely to be able to show that tonight, so thank you. This first poem is dedicated to all the wearers of contact lenses in the room. A somewhat neglected group, you might say, when it comes to poetic odes, but this is your moment, so this is what you... It's called Contact. Drawn folds show blotched dawn. Yawn. Roll on robes of smoke, thoughts fog-soaked, raw. Hold on. Crawl to O's of hope, to no more. Compose. Don't drop. Those globes won't thaw what floats, throat locked, all floor torn. Oh! Not on nose. Own go. Slow. Not launched nor thrown. Soft. Go on. Left. Done. One down, one to go. Please lend me the world whole, not kept under dust for someone else. Ugh, nearly. Too early to beg for body to work yet. Each bone sleep poached. Forget the rush. Don't leap or rub, just gentle touch. Yes. Each time I'm almost surprised by what the morning looks like, but not quite. Today it woke me speechless. Now I've got my tongue back. So the reason why I write poems about contact lenses, and the reason why you can all probably read my notes from here, is that I'm partially blind, and that's something that shaped my writing quite a lot. And one of the things that happens, probably when you have any disability, but particularly with mine, is you get asked roughly 3 questions on rotation for your whole life. And one of those for me is, can it be corrected or can it be fixed? Which I find a really interesting question, that people think that's what I would want. Because I honestly cannot think of anything more stressful than waking up tomorrow and being able to see everything. I don't know how people can be bothered looking at stuff. It's very tiring. So this is called Cured, and it's a response to that question. Granny's new hearing aids have retuned the earth. The wind starts inside her now. Grandad stacks the dishes jungle loud, while she begs the telly watch its tone. In the dream where a doctor's hands become God's own, and they fix me up, good and proper. I worry about the angles of my thanks. Of course I'm grateful, but how could I stomach the whole world at once? Have you ever seen a seagull bloat to spitfire overnight? It might be nice to fear a falling leaf instead of early death. But how could I live with such colossal raindrops? I appreciate your alchemy and the new depth in a face, but I can't hack all these colours I've no name for. And how would there be time to swallow everything subtitled? And would I barter with my eyes to get them closed, like a mother digging into her reserves? So as Michael said, I brought out a pamphlet earlier this year, and much of that pamphlet was busy with these ideas about vision and sight, but a large part of it also was about growing up, and this next poem comes from that side of things. It's about a moment, or a few moments I suppose, where I was kind of violently confronted with the fact that what I believed growing up about what was good and what was bad was maybe not as simple as I thought. And I think that happens to everyone. It's quite an important growing up stage. So this is called All the Choirs. As the nurse washed the blood out, she said, "Angel hair, so you have angel hair." Once when I was wee, I thought I had the stigmata. Anna sang Panis Angelicus at school mass, and we knew she was brilliant, but couldn't cry like the parents. My brother had a cap signed by his favourite. After the EPO, it was still there, but less looked at. In the Angel Gabriel song, we would change the words to most highly flavoured lady. I always imagined that Mary's flavour was salt and vinegar, because she wore blue. Someone asked the journalist how we could start fixing things, and he said, "We really must stop believing in angels." The first time I played the villain in Panto, I wished the booing audience would register my nuance. I can't picture an angel afraid to tread. We studied empire like it was a half-remembered gap year, and wars like we were prefects rounding up bullies at break time. Once I thought I saw a burning bush, but maybe it was a still-lit cigarette's carnage. When we heard the news, we thought we might know the girl, and never thought we might know the boy accused. So, as you've heard about already tonight, Push the Boat Out is coming to Edinburgh this month, and the Poetry Mile that you've already heard about as well. So this is a Poetry Mile poem. I thought since we were celebrating that launch tonight, it would be nice to read a poem from that too. So this is a poem that I wrote about the mound, creatively called The Mound. I legged it in shoes too daft for chasing buses. Imagined how I'd sound as a marble, playing off the fence, but never did fall. Stayed tall enough to watch the winter sun runny yoking the top deck. I stepped off a train, eyes plugged with a big night's guff, and accepted the offer of a lift. Found peace as the wind slid me downhill like a curling stone. I was told that the streets show themselves, patterns on a dropped roll of cloth, only stopping for the sea. And I saw it in my own way, grey and blue, glass and headlight. I recognised the car's rude swerve in the dark. A friend visited and did what I've been holding in, as if we were living in the film version of the city, where anything could be said. He clutched his chest, as if the view might just see him off. never know what to do with clapping when there's a lot of poems. It feels like a lot to ask of you, but that's nice, thank you. I think it's kind of understood that the other prerequisite of being a poet, other than writing poetry, is being stingy, frugal, maybe. So I thought I would try and combine those two qualities with a poem which is called For Any Chosen Friend on Any Given Birthday. I'm hoping that lasts me a while. If I get careless, know of the day when an expert promised I'd be lonely. Picture it. A new city was beating the windows. Note the door plaque that called her my keeper. Then hear me dubbed burning nuisance in an accent that academia had dragged through a mango. Hear her profess that you could not love me proper, and I was selfish to ask. That your hands were no match for all of my awkward bulk. Imagine me gripping the chair like anything might leave me now. Count up the hours that you called fallow, and understand that clobbering her odds is busy work. I'm going to read one more. Before I do, I'd like to thank Michael and Kevin for having me. It's a real honour to get to read at one of these events, especially with tonight's lineup. So I was really excited to be able to come. And thank you, all of you, for listening as well. It's, I'm not sure when it will start to feel normal again to get to this, but it's not yet, so it'll be very nice, thank you. This is called In My Best Dreams. The weather doesn't warrant my smart coat, but I wear it. We steam to the peak of the only hill in Norfolk, and running is a freedom, not an ugly rush. You're full of ice cream and your own jokes. High branches catch ribbons of your rarest laugh, the one that starts in your shoes and rattles your cheekbones like the bars of a cell. You tell me to read poetry in place of mediocre minds, and I marvel at your answers to what I haven't asked yet. There are no trains to catch. We make a game of renaming colours, of wishing well on the boys who blew their chances, of finding each other's faces in the shapes of the countryside. I mention the rumours of rain. The sky doesn't flinch. Thank you.
Just before we give Ellen one more round of applause, I want to say she does have some of those cracking pamphlets, An Eye for an Eye for an Eye, with her tonight. And this poetry game doesn't really exist without a lot of the independent presses that we get a lot of our first publications, chapbooks put through, they lead on to collections, to live readings, but it starts with the book. So if we could, I was going to say rush Ellen, but let's not do that. But kindly and jovially, if you enjoyed the poetry, inquire whether we could purchase one of those chapbooks. That seems like a far more, jocund way of handling that transaction.
I was thinking from an organisation, because I like organising stuff, as you can, Michael.
To be honest, I've not noticed these last 10 years. That's news to me.
I'm giving you the feed lines. Anyway, there's a wee bit around the back if you wanted to sign them now. There's a nice little open table. We could use that for book signings. Does that sound like a good idea?
I will say I've not really thought it through, so if you have $5.99 exactly, then
Okay. Call it an even 6 for tonight. Special discount.
So there we are. Sorted.
Cool. So we're going to have a bit of a break at the moment. There's going to be film stuff happening in here. There's a bar through there. There's a toilet there. Remember to wear your mask if you're travelling between these areas and you're not exempt. Yeah, you know, talk to each other, urinate, have a good time. Come back to us in 10 to 15 minutes with, you know, happy faces and ready for Kevin Harman and the Honey Farm.
We'll have Kevin Harman's installation on at the back. You'll hear it, his video. It'll be on a phone. You have to go right up and see it, close up. There's no actual big film of this. You have to go and see it.
Keep it clean, keep it sexy. See you in 10. Hello! I saw a few jumps there, right in the front as well. You got the loudest, but you know, your jumps send a ripple back through, and now here we all are together again. The show is going on because of that frightful twitch. So this is the second half. That's all I've got to say about the second element of the half. I'm going to let it speak for itself. Did you enjoy the first half? Yes. Good. High bar set, but don't worry, we're going to keep sailing that way. So I'm going to introduce you to not just the artist behind Ltd Ink Galleries and the collective of artists that help make this place fly and all of these exhibitions happen. Check out this space, there's loads of brilliant markets and interesting things going on, exhibition after exhibition coming through here. But one of Edinburgh's most prolific, provocative, prodigious artists, our very own Kevin Harman, is going to be in conversation with Kevin Williamson. I'm not sure what he's doing tonight. It's always best not to ask in advance because you've got plausible deniability if it gets a bit messy. So, introducing you to the Kevins.
Thank you, Kevin.
Hello.
I quite like Kevin, nice to see you.
Kev.
Yeah, I quite like Kev. Are you a Kev or a Kevin of choice?
Depends. I'm getting in trouble. Kevin.
I just go
Kev's good.
Kevin
Almost
Harmon if
there.
I'm getting in trouble. Okay. Well, how am I saying okay? The second's okay. What we're going to do now is, you've come along to, how many people have been here for an event before? Yeah. Not so many. So, therefore, it's probably a good idea. You're probably thinking, what is this place? Where does it come from? Why is it here? That's what we thought when we first came here, and it was an absinthe bar. It was an illegal shebeen absinthe bar in the festival. It's probably the greatest art installation Edinburgh's ever had. Would you agree with that, Kev?
Well, I remember that.
It was an 8 o'clock in the morning kind of place most days in the festival, and the police and John Law knew nothing about it. It was an amazing place, and it's grown since then into Ltd Ink. So, you'll need to let people know what Ltd Ink is, who you are, what you're up to, because it's more than it appears.
Aye. So, I'm Kevin Harmon, and this used to be my studio. About probably stopped working here about 4 years ago, and turned it into a project space. And one of the first projects we'd done was created a 2-floor absinthe bar, which that's why that wall exists and that little bar at the back. It was a sort of speakeasy kind of vibe. We opened at 8 at night and we closed at 8 in the morning. We ran for the month of August. And it's probably carved about 5 years, maybe 6 or 7 off the end of my life.
And everybody who was in it as well.
Yeah, but the installation itself, what ended up happening was I got a real feel for collaboration and the kind of things that can evolve from a real sort of a close proximity, a little bit of underground kind of thing going on, and it stuck with me. And so I thought, well, I'll keep it going and I'll turn the space into what it is at the moment, which is a project space, and it's not a sort of gallery as such. We really try and keep things really open, and we fund it privately, and we have kind of been running it, I suppose it's maybe about 3 years now, and on the spirit of the kind of thing that happened on that month, I think we try and bring as many different types of people into the space, and give an opportunity to people that are coming through that are maybe doing things a little bit differently, and that's kind of the fire that's been going. So yeah.
I mean, you've kind of linked up with us this month, and we're going to be doing a whole series of events here at Ltd Ink over the next 6 months or so, and they're going to be experimental and everything. But even still, I mean, I've been coming here, you know, sleeping here, you know, for a while, and I still.
The Kevin suite.
I'm still trying to get my head around what it is you do, because I've never met any artist with so many projects. It's kind of, it blows my mind, all the stuff you're doing, and then you show me something else, and you're like, what's this in Glasgow? What?
Yeah. And
then we've got some slides just to show, because I'm still baffled by the scale of what you're up to here. You've got kind of like an anti-empire growing.
So we, I suppose in a sense, I moved through to Glasgow, hence my studio moved out to Govan, and so I set up workshops in my studio there, so that's where the main operation goes, my own individual practice really. Not that I don't think of the work that we do here as being, you know, contributory to that, and as part and really relevant to the development of what my own practice is. With the projects that we do here, we end up working with a lot of the artists and commissioning them to do a sort of bolt-on, an extra. Whilst they've done the work here, why not do a little bit more? And so we offer a £100 micro commission to make a public artwork around the perimeter of our warehouse in Glasgow. And I'm not sure I'll do a bit of a tennis sort of thing again, but there's an image on the back wall, and that just shows you the perimeter that we've drawn around where the warehouse is. It's right next to the BBC building, if you know where that is in Glasgow. And so we asked the artists to think about the space, the place, and the limitations of a £100 budget. They could make something for £10 and keep the £90 for themselves, or whatever. With the workshop, we fabricate all the work for them, if that's required, and install it for them as well. We don't ask too many questions, which is dangerous, you know. You end up with you end up getting maybe artists exercising things that they might not necessarily install themselves, so we go out and install them. And it's really it's called the Safari of Sorts, and I say that because it is all sorts of things and all sorts of artists. I mean that from poets to fine artists, whether it's musicians or people that are doing more public sculptures or public funded works. And this, sorry, if you go back one slide. So this was a piece that we installed in gates in a Glasgow park, and it caused a bit of a stooshy actually. I don't know if anyone was familiar with it, the legs on the Glasgow gates. So it kind of, that's right opposite the BBC building, and it was done by an artist called Raquel McKinnon, and she's a feminist and teaches gender politics, and it all sounded really great. And she said, well, I would like these on the gates to that park. And we were like, oh no. Like, oh no. But, you know, let's do it until we get the heebie-jeebies, and we can't. So we installed it, and it absolutely went viral, and we ended up with a whole lot of nightmares in Govan, including people wanting to do a march on the warehouse because of the sort of what it represented, and what people felt the discourse, the way it went online was that there was sexual assaults that were happening in parks in Glasgow, and they felt that this was some sort of mockery of it or whatnot. And I can see their points, but like everything, you can there's counter arguments to it. I'm not going to go into too much about it just now because we've not got a lot of time, but that's the kind of power that £100 and an artist and a couple of people that are willing to do something it has, and it really creates massive debate. And each work, we're not going to go through them because there's too many, but we've commissioned 12 works now, and that's ongoing. We've got another 14 commissions coming up that we'll go out and install, and it really ignites that area, and people can go around and scan the Q codes that are around next to all the works. So if they're ephemeral nature, it doesn't matter. There's a slab with a Q code that you can scan and see what's happened at the time. We also run a billboard in Wester Hailes Education Centre where we expose kids at the school and the tutors to contemporary art. We worked the image that you've seen there before. I'll just quickly do that. So that was Bernie Reed, and that was his billboard image that he had drafted up, and we got through Eastern Printing, who sponsors. They do our printing for us, and we put that up, and so the kids get to see this image and get like a bit of exposure to what I feel is really beautiful and interesting, curious things in a playground, that's where I went myself, and it was pretty dull, but that's pretty cool. And so the ambition is to get for Ltd Ink operations to take that and get them installed in all the schools around Scotland. We can do some sort of rotation of the images. We do have one in Govan, which has now got a white frame around it as well, and we cut the grass in front of it, so it kind of has a lead up, a lead up to the image. That's Sydney Harbour upside down, just in front of the Clyde, where it looks very similar to what the Finiston sort of viewscape. And so yeah, that's right next to BBC, so it's going to be quite interesting for the summit and whatever we put up on the billboard. Part of Ltd Ink Corporation, we came out of lockdown, and I thought a beautiful thing, instead of doing some contemporary art, dry-ish exhibitions, contemplative things in the space where we're doing a lot for the art kind of community. Why not use the yard and expand out and take that kind of curatorial role and make a place for everybody and get us communicating and getting us bartering and sharing stories, and give us a bit of a lighter stride going out of this kind of stuff. So we set up the ink market, and we have the most amazing traders come, and with all phenomenal stuff and stories about each object. And when people are coming into there, they're getting to have beautiful food, they're getting to listen to some live music and get a bargain. The exhibitions are open so people can come in and see, although admittedly I've not got there's only so much you can do. The quality of the exhibitions, I feel, is slightly wavered, kind of almost to non-existent. So I've got to kind of get the balance right. The market's a lot of work, but I feel it's really kind of bringing people together, and some lovely things are starting to come out the flea market. It's the second Sunday and the last Sunday of every month, and if you want to come and have a beer and have a chat and all that kind of stuff, we're all here and working.
It's worth coming along. The last time I came, I went away with a Frida Kahlo lamp on Sunday, but also the time before that I got this washboard.
Yes, we know, Kevin.
Yeah, well, but I'm just explaining the sort of things you can buy at the market, and it's a washboard, and you open it, and it's got a little cupboard where you can put all your bottles of pills. That was a really good thing to have, in your house. So basically, you just buy things. Yeah, markets.
Yeah, Kevin came with his chess set on Sunday just there, and people were sitting down playing chess. What a beautiful and curious and lovely sort of contribution to the scene. Like, it's really calm. We didn't want people just coming and going. It's a contemplative space, Come play chess with Kevin. He's quite good. Only 2 people we played him, and he won
Well, this is a new thing.
Easily, he said.
This is why I got this green and white. It's like, you know, in the 90s, in the 80s, there was a bit of fighting at football, and you had all the Hibs casuals, and I've set up the Hibs chess casuals. We're much gentler in nature, and we think about the games a lot more, and we're more strategic, you know. And when we're heckling, we do sort of give alternatives to the manager as well. So maybe we should try and play him in a different way. It's a different type of sort of football culture we're kind of developing.
Yeah. You still look quite mad.
Yeah, so that's the sort of things that you can buy at a market. If you at a market, you can play chess or buy washboards with your pills. So yeah, limiting. So you've got so much going on here, like, and now when we're here, you're going to be introducing artists over the next 6 months.
Yeah.
And bringing them in here, and you're going to find out a little bit about their work.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask the next question, Kev.
Yeah.
So who's your first artist you're going to be bringing in to Ltd Ink for this month?
I'm not. I think they're Scottish, and they've done a lot. They've done a lot of different things, and behind the scenes, I'm sure it's a mess, but they do their best, and I think they're going to do. I think we're going to work together and do something really interesting over the course of the project. Kevin Williamson. That was an application. Am I pronouncing it right? Kevin Williamson. So we're going to be working with Kevin for the day. It's quite a long project.
It is. It's going to be a year-long project. I'm actually going to live in that corner for the next 12 months. Is that right, Kev?
Yep.
Yeah. As writer in residence, an artist in residence.
Yep.
Not around. You're obviously the artist in residence. I'll be the kind of writer guy.
I'll be here.
And it's called Welcome to the 90s. The project.
Yeah.
And it will last a year. Do you want to know what this is all about? You're probably thinking, what the fuck are they talking about? And why have you got something up with Comic Sans? I'll tell you why. The reason Comic Sans is because it was really popular in 1991. And when I started Rebel Ink in 1992, all Rebel Ink was done in Comic Sans because it was really cool. Like. Comic Sans, making a comeback. Anyway.
So what's it about?
What's it about, indeed, Kev? What is it about? Well, it's a project for the last... I'm just going to explain this very briefly because you'll actually have to come and experience it yourself because I'll be here every week for the next year. I've been doing these things in life, you know. The project starts in September 1991, okay, which is 30 years ago. And it starts in a specific week. September 1991 was, this is like from like a few years ago, was September 1991 the best month ever for albums? Nirvana, Nevermind, Screamadelica, Low End Theory, Tranquil Quest. There's so many good albums came out that particular September. It was also the September where I turned 30 and when I started planning Rebel Ink on my 30th birthday. I remember starting that and thinking, right, okay.
That was when I first found out who you were. Through a friend of mine in the back there was a magazine came into the charity shop with a GIMP mask on.
Things you do when you're younger.
And it was brought to my attention that it was a quite important magazine and that I shouldn't sell it for 10 pence. And that it might have held some value, and so I put it to the side, and that's when...
So, well, that's what happened. The magazine came out of this particular month, and I don't know why it happened, but that was 30 years ago, and what we're going to do is we're going to recreate the 90s here. I've done this is my third one-year project. The first one was a poetry project I'd done on Twitter. I don't know if anybody saw it. It was called 365 Poems, 365 Poets. And halfway through that, I started getting all these crazy ideas about having a festival in Edinburgh, a poetry festival. They never had one. I spoke to Asif at the Poetry Library in Ali, and then Jenny Niven came in, and we ran with it. And it's now 2 weeks' time. That's what came out of that one-year project. It's pushed the boat out. And then last November, I decided to immerse myself in chess. I didn't really know that much about chess, so I went deep dive in chess to the exclusion of everything else in my life. I tried to learn everything I could about chess. I thought, if I still got a brain to find all these artistic patterns and all these wonderful things, and I still got so deep into it, and I'm coming out of it in November. And out of that's come the Persevere Chess Club, which is going to be in here. There's quite a lot of people now go down and play live in different places, and we're going to be working with kids, and so that came out of that. So this is the third one. It's called Welcome to the 90s. And I'm going to try and chart Scotland in the 90s, create a map of what happened in Scotland in the 90s, musically, culturally, artistically. From a personal point of view, I'm going to throw all the stuff in with Rebel Ink and my own story, but also mainly about what happened beyond that, because the story's not being told. The story of the 90s, every time you see a TV program, it's fucking Brit-pop, it's fucking New Labour, it's all this bullshit, Brit art. There's no Scottish, there's not Scottish-centric approach. So Scotland was transformed, and also it was a decade when we had freedom. We had a kind of freedom that people don't have anymore, and we want to try and, you're going to see it. We're going to digitize stuff from the 90s, all my archive, and you'll actually see I was going to take along the 2 cassette tapes, the first interview Irvine Welsh ever did. I did them in 1993. We did it on Ecstasy before Trainspotting came out, and we printed it in Rebel Ink. I don't know if you've ever seen that issue, but I'm going to digitize. You can actually hear it. I've never heard it since 1993. It was my first ever Reekie, and we did the whole interview. It took us 9 hours overnight. So you'll actually hear this being digitized in here, plus all the videos getting turned into. So there'll be a whole project being created in this space. We'll be doing 1 year, starting in 1991 per month. So it may not be in order, don't know. But so each year you're just going to be surrounded by 1991 in that whole corner. We'll create an exhibition, and the next month it'll be 1992, and you'll see an experience of what we went through artistically, and creatively, and culturally. And all the nonsense and all the photographs I've collected. I've got a huge archive which is in poly bags.
We'll get out the poly bags.
So we'll be doing that for a whole year, and you're going to have to look after me, feed me, everything, Kev. I'm just going to sit over in the corner in my green chair.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's your
I don't cook. It's sandwiches, Tesco's, and lager probably.
So anyway, that's it. That's the 1990s. So you've got some other artists coming in, but I'm going to have the space. They're going to have to find some other space in the actual venue, you know.
I'm sure we'll work around it and create we'll completely turn it into an experience. So when people are coming in, you'll be able to sort of get an idea, do a chronological sort of sequence of what was going on when you were doing all the different projects, which I get the privilege to sort of sit and chat with you and actually see the scope and hear the stories about everything, and it definitely needs to have a form, and hopefully we can do that.
It's going to be interesting, and people can come in and just visit us and see all the stuff getting processed. Here's a photograph of me on Hogmanay 1991. I think one of these guys is the Tron Church. See, the only people will remember this, older folk will remember this was what Hogmanay was like before it all got commodified.
Was that at the Tron?
Yeah, that's Tron Kirk there, just up at the top.
I was maybe there as well.
Was you? I was the one just over in that bit over there. I think it's just next to Smith's. You know? And it was an elite, it was proper, there was no organisation. I love things with no organisation. And it was just chaos. It was just people throwing beer at each other and kissing policewomen and kissing ambulance men and stuff. And it was just it's messy and horribly brilliant. I loved it. And it happened everywhere. And then it started commodifying Edinburgh. So we want to give a flavour of what Edinburgh was like back in that time as well. You know, Scotland was like, it was different. It was more, I think it was more anarchic.
Yes, it was.
But we'll find out. I don't know. Maybe it's just old age. Fucking romanticising a crappy past.
I hope not.
I hope not.
Because the stories are good.
Yeah, we've been sort of sorting out a few stories. Anyway, so welcome to the 90s. We'll go back in time. And we showed you all the crap music that was on in the 90s in the break. That was just some of the most rubbish songs. It's September 1991, which was the greatest album. On my 30th birthday, Nirvana released Smell Like Teen Spirit. I thought, like, music's changing. It's great. And the song was Right Said Fucking Fred. You know? There's all these brilliant songs. Screamadelica came out, and it was amazing. And Right Said Fred. So that was all the shit of the 90s. I was just showing in a break.
Yeah.
That's it. We'll move on now, won't we, Ken? Not physically, obviously. We're going to be here for a long time together. Michael, you got something to say about all this?
I'm actually making a quick dive for the toilet. We're going to have a 10-minute break now, and then we're going to be back with the Honey Farm. Give a warm round of applause to the Kevins, and we'll see you back here in 10 minutes.
This animation I'm going to show is optional. You can pop over it, you don't have to watch it. You can go for a beer, I think.
Here we are again, in the silence, before the act, for the last time this evening. A bit chattier, because it's later, that's okay. We're going to up the tempo a little bit. We are bringing you our last live performance of the evening. We've had this band, they're one of our favourite bands to book, on at the Edinburgh International Festival at Leeds Theatre. We've put them on at the National Portrait Gallery. We've put them on at Leeds St Andrew's Church. 500,000 people in some of the audience. We've downsized it for you tonight. We knew you wanted the intimate experience. You weren't quite ready for that big, brilliant audience stuff. You thought when we brought Young Fathers and Primal Scream to the 90-person poetry club, that was the most intimate, special one-off gig you were going to get. Oh no! For one night only, we bring you one of our favourite bands at Reekie, the Fantabulous, the Honey Farm!
Hey guys. This is a very intimate gig. I feel very close to all of you right now.
We show you that.
Hi Jill! Hi! We're gonna start with a poem just because it's a poetry type event.
Yeah, easier.
And then I'm gonna do a skit that is just a joke. I swear.
She does swear.
I really do.
If you don't like that, then
Yeah.
you don't like this.
If you don't like it, you're not gonna like the rest of it, so you should leave. And it's okay if you do.
Yeah. Usually for this poem, then we
We
ask
ask everyone
everybody
to
to
sit.
take a knee. But you're all sitting down. If anyone wants to kneel, you can.
Feel free to.
I will.
If anybody wants to stand up during the gig, you can. We are.
I'm gonna kneel them.
Yeah, you kneel.
Okay.
Makes me feel bigger.
You can stand on it.
Alright.
Go like a knife.
No, I can't.
Just touch me, like, no. She'll break.
Where's Wonder Woman when you need her? Or Catgirl when you call? The superheroes of our childhood that can do nothing at all. When I'm falling on my face in front of that cunt with a chair who hit me over the head, screaming Packy, holding it in the air, like a trophy of his victory towards indifference, and I lie there thinking my dad is Punjabi, you dick, like it makes a difference. These myths of women who can make a fair and just world that we could all live in as these kind of girls. The kind of girls that compares dicks to biscuits, that don't give a fuck for these new chick flicks. Oh, how I dream of the day that Swayze will lift me in the air, or Freddie Prinze Jr. proves that he does really care. I'd love for Cusack to stand outside my bedroom window with his boombox, but actually, I might prefer to hop in the car and have a wee hotbox. Because I need it. Rosa Parks stood for her right to sit. And Amelia Earhart flew over the Atlantic. Frida Kahlo was a crazy communist queen, and Audrey and Marilyn, they were destroying the big screen. My girl Janice was gifted a voice from the gods. I could name 1,000 strong broads that make me want to change the way and proceed, because for ladies, there's still a hell of a lot to be achieved. The suffragettes may have made incredible steps towards uprising of the weaker sex, but it wasn't enough. It seems so complex. The way people treat us leaves us perplexed. And when I think about this and I feel kind of stressed, I listen to my man Tupac. May his soul rest. He said that we came from women, got our names from women. We don't need to try and tame the women, because we got game, us women. Show no shame, us women. We got a lot of shit to proclaim, us women. Like the phoenix rising from the ashes, we're going to pull out our claws and flutter our eyelashes. Like wings to send us skyward, we're going to keep travelling upwards, because things have got to move forward. With a future like a child is wayward, so if you don't begin to look inward, your path will continue to be hindered, your pride continue to be injured, something deep within must be conjured, so we can burst into flames. And transmigrate to our new selves. Power running through our new veins, take ourselves off the bookshelves. We will write the next chapter. Because it does really fucking matter that we're viewed equal to our brothers. Now is our time to be discovered. I don't know if you know, but it's Gail's birthday. It's not really.
It's my birthday week.
Yeah, so she's going to be 30 on Monday. That means she's exactly 30 years younger than Kev. 99. 91, the best year! I'ma sneak in your bedroom at nighttime and show you the time of your life. And when it is just past midnight, I'ma cut off your dick with my knife. I'll sneak out your bedroom window, blood and semen are smearing the sills. Your manhead is still inside me. When I make a lick, gives me a thrill. 'Cause I'm a badass bitch with the money in the case. 'Cause I'm gonna make it rich, then I'll shove it in your face. I was raised in the woods, howling at the wind, not raised in the hoods, living like a goose. I'ma run with the wolves like a bad bitch too. Show all your fools, come get a good view. I'm a bad bitch style, ring ring, Mindy crying. I'm an Asian crocodile, who's a bad bitch down? Can you see me? I'm a mixed race bad bitch, only make you mad bitch. Fuck with my shit, make you wish you never had bitch. Honey's tongue red bitch, acting like a rabbit. Take off like a rocket from a fucking launch pad bitch. I'm a badass bitch, ain't no denying. So fuck all you try, I'ma leave you crying. Put your mama on the floor, but I'ma leave you lying. Pick you up by your feet, I'ma send you flying. Smash your face against the wall, 'cause I'm horrifying. Baby, don't be sore, I'm just clarifying. I'm a badass bitch. I'm a badass bitch. I'm a high class bitch. So fucking high classy. What do you mean shocking? I'll tell you about it. I'm a high class bitch and this might be a shocker, 'cause it's not me that's meant it, it's my walker. Windows 8, 10, 8 blinks on knock off, I bust my back when I'm making dollar and I'm breaking back. Robin Peter, Pam, Paula might be 5 feet, but I'm always fucking taller. Side street, sticks, grease, past cat collars. I throw up the bees when they give me bother. 'Cause I don't wanna hear these beasts when they holler. I'm like, hey, don't you know, I'm somebody's mother, I'm somebody's daughter, somebody's lover. A human who is a woman who is trying to pull summer. Women but are human just like you rude fucker. You mucker, you who's behind me in the cutie trade trucker. You who would have me some Jewish good sucker. That boot stocking cover, dude, moon cheeky bugger. Before you go and make me spew off fish sucker. Just because I like to fuck it doesn't mean I'm not classy. So treat me like a lady even if we're getting nasty. Dignified doggy like my best bitch lassie. Several precious veils round her neck, that's brassy. Skin high class bitch, smoking all the grass bitch. Skinny little mini but that's quite a nice ass bitch. Fucking orgasmic, hitting that glass, no shade. Get paid, get laid, be a crass bitch. I'm a high class bitch. I'm a high class bitch. I'm a smart ass bitch. Nerd. That's not very nice. True. I've been a smart ass bitch ever since I was a girl. My intellectual trajectory was practically vertical. Fully formulating bars as soon as I could talk. You know that I was running before I could even walk. I've been philosophizing since I was 5. I had to drive. Like bugs, come alive, never contrived. My sharp like knives, skills like hives, full of bees. Always busy, you see, ever since I arrived. My thoughts have no speed. I'm undeniably nice on my pursuit of acquiring vital educational materials. But that's immaterial. What society is surviving and recognizing the experience of occupation as equal. It's unspeakable to be a lassie like Mac. Maybe some classic novels or a healthy chat on topics social or economic is laughable. Nah, we're here for shoes and dresses, bleacher dresses. Worry about your looks, cause hitting books would be a bit beyond you anyway. There's a persistent literature rate in the way women are portrayed. I'm playing that science ain't no shit, it's the bullshit that makes me sick. I do like getting laid, but no, I ain't got time to date. No, I do like riding dicks, I'm more passionate about politics. Smart ass brain, bitch, making cerebral gains. Bitch, never get a pain or try to rein in. Can't be changed, bitch, no one knows the thing, bitch. I'm aggravating, bitch, I care about the shit, cause I'm a verbally reclaimed bitch. Cause I'm a smart ass, wise ass, lyrics on the fly. If my vocabulary is frankly scary, wonder why I'm ingesting infinitely all the words that pass me by. My first digitation of creation lexically blind. I'm initially masochistic MCs when I come track. I'm the MCs dumb struck, striking from this lightning mind. Lightning. Got such good special effects. And if I was a dinosaur, I would be a thesaurus. You can't ignore this. Smashing china shots like Taurus. Running rings around you like Taurus. Judges wondering how to score us. My lyrics are preposterous. Perspicacious goes for our spectators cheering more. This perfect play just goes. I think we showed you where the door is. We are hatchet and therapy spitting solos on our tour bus. Best bitches. Hormone haters. You can suck on this clitoris. Cause I'm a high ass bitch. I'm a smart ass bitch. I'm a bad ass bitch. I'm a badass bitch. I'm a high Because our characters aren't actually just who we are in real life, because clearly. You are a nerd.
I just can't see properly.
It's her glasses. You're also very smart. It's not just the glasses. I think she got like 8 hires or something. How many was it?
No, I don't know.
6.
I can't remember.
So many she can't count
So
them.
many. I think I got 1. It was a B in higher art.
Oh, nice.
Which is alright.
That's the best
That's
letter.
murder. What's next,
I
Robin?
don't know.
Fucking Fantabulous.
Oh, sick. Cool.
This is a new one.
Is this an
We wrote 2 new songs, but we're only going to give you 1 today because that's the kind of bitches we are. Side bitch.
In case you can't tell, I'm the one of this band.
I'm the main one. I'm the main one. I ain't no side bitch, I'm the main bitch. I'm the forefront, I'm the brain bitch. I'm pinky too, I'm insane bitch. Like a fucking villain, baby Jane bitch. I'm Batman and they Robin. I'm the main line you snogging. I'm the one you call throughout your day. I'm being, I'm the pollen, I'm the meat, I'm the gay. Be the tatties and the peas. I'm the second serving and the fucking pudding. See, I'm a whole lot of all of it that they don't wanna eat. I'm a boss, I'm a baller, I'm the fucking VIP. I'm the most indisputable leader of the gang. I'm the tip-top guy, I'm everything you can.
We're the top bitches, so delicious. You don't eat us on the side. No kickers, we the main fucking dishes. The main man, you're my biggest fan. Teacher, preacher, jester, joker, chain smoker, mystic poker. The protagonist, don't shit, motherfucker, this the banging. Look the most savage witch of the lips with a script on a tragic sex. The most magic witch, that's the queen of spell, never had a kid. I'm Homer Simpson, I'm Marge Simpson, I'm Lisa Simpson, I'm Bart Simpson, I'm Robin Hood, I'm not a boo, I'm Peter Pan, I'm Captain Hook. I'm the Grinch, I'm Cindy Lou, I'm every fucking page of the Jungle Book. I'm Scooby-Doo, I'm Harry Potter, I'm Gandalf too, I'm Bilbo Potter, Fly Talker, Skywalker, Elsa's eyes and Ariel's voice. Simba running backwards, Vader's trust, the return of the king, you can kiss this ring. I've got no strings, I'm a real boy, no Jiminy Cricket, need a sidekick, I'm not your fucking ticket. I'm running shit, you run down, you dropping it, you dumb clown, you can leave an S, you come now. Cause I get what I want and I want what I get. You miss my pussy, your eyes will get wet. You think you can talk me, I'm taking that bet, I'll be rolling in dough while you're crying in there. She rolling in dough while you're crying in there. We're the top bitches, so delicious, you don't eat us on the side. No kickers, we the main fucking dishes.
I'm the fucking primary. Primer than the number 3. It's elementary to find the leads since I was 3, like I was meant to be. The feast, the main, the beast, you paid to see. Release the chain, the freak insane, the least contained, and running the game, becoming the name. And suddenly you're plugged in, you come again, before we caught you. Like a riptide, like a landslide, how a trick blind, with a quick rhymes. Understand that? Never slipped by, I have a landslide. It's undeniable, undefiable, scribe to find these words, undefined, still tried to sound, he's gotta find the line, his third find where I reside is the final word. And leave silence. No side chick, the main dish, no sidekick.
We're the top bitches, so delicious. You don't eat us on the side. No kickers, we're the main fucking dishes. We're the top bitches, so delicious. You don't eat us on the side. No kickers, the main fucking dishes.
That's 3 top bitches,
So delicious, so nutritious.
so sick of all these sidekickers.
Filling up my fridges.
Get out of my fridge. Main meals only in my fridge. If you are a side dish, please walk out of my fridge.
Thank you so much.
That was quite nice. Singing to a sit down audience. Strangely enjoyable. It's not our first time in the Reekie doing that though. We've got a song about
Lads.
It's an ode to the lad.
Has anyone got like a baseball cap I can borrow or something? Or
Fake a stash.
fake a stash, anyone?
Cats and stashes.
Penis I can pop on.
Strap on.
Alright, lads! Once again.
What lads do.
Rating intricately listed every beverage we've ingested.
Banging bitches beer but never bother getting tasted.
That's right.
Make her feel trash, then they're cash, smoke a hash. Why don't you like to microphone such a lad? Listen up, lads, here's my advice. Scope yourself a dumb drunk duns, hit it once, twice, thrice in a night. Talk shite, make let's keep fight goodbye. Boys don't cry, what's that? I've got sun in my eye. Maybe it's a sty, but tell me why a bitch has got so many fucking fucking feelings for? I had a bird, but she don't speak to me no more. I can't be dealing with no teary whore. Hang around my door, bleating and pleading. She wanna see me more and spend more time. I'm hornier, I'm angrier, I'm hungrier, I'm fine. It's funny, but I'm manly and I'm young and enough right. It's a fucking lads on here. Your man's out here. Air heart, so she begged me, I'll blush, I'm begging. Pure mad mate, all chicken Orient. All our mates look the same, like we're made from a stencil. With us blood taking trips abroad, eating chips abroad, fucking chicks abroad. Bend over, slut, I'm gonna hit this broad. Yo, my size, got nice size, that long hair, them brown thighs, that wise guys conceptualize. Imagine you're some knee-highs, scrolling down some pork pies or french fries. This implies a like cruel size bitches. Up and down the seesaw, I don't want no blue balls. No, diggity dog, trumps cause, grab them by the pussy. Ah, slap jaw, throat straw, catch a bitch out in the fog. I don't dim it. Bitches is a sucker that can flat ass high fast. Tell me they can talk about ventilators and always there. Love the taste. See me. I want in you to eat it, so I'm knocking on the door of your baby food bar. When I'm inside, don't make you tremble.
Okay, now, alright, you can just take a step back. I don't know if you heard, but actually, this is a lot of these things. Sackbird.
Honestly, loads of them.
Yeah. These bitches can't resist the manliest of men. My persistent pushing gets to them in the end. I'll do her and her friend. Make them come again and again and again. And these times 10. To their legs of a permanent bed. And she's leaving her in.
Oh,
it's
nice.
just to him. I'm packing 5 inches of pure pleasure. Wait, no 6. I mean 7. Wait, no, 9. 9 inches. Not that I've measured. But I don't really like to talk to women, so I just share unoriginal propositions on a walk past. I always treat them aggressively, disrespectfully. But perplexingly, it doesn't seem to make them want to have sex with me. But when the hotties appear, you know I'm getting horny. So good at spotting birds, you'd think I was an ornithologist. I'm the machoist, the de facto best.
Oh, hit me, tell me. Oh,
Alright, here, you guys are not going to believe. Alright, I'm going to start. Alright, that's fine. Alright, so I went to see this band show. It didn't go as planned though. The pitch that I was meeting fucking cancelled. Had to find some other spot to bang where she stumbled across the dance floor. A bit too pissed to stand, so I took her at the back and laid her flat and go around. Yeah, it was really, really good sex. You would know. Oh my god, yeah, it was great. Yeah. Here. But that wasn't such a can show. I either had to scramble or get the drunkest can, or I might just even both those pussies mangled. So I left her in the front row, ran back to the front door, had to make that console. And though it was blood and her less so, and at first the answer was no when I demanded a blow. Still got to her pants. Cause I'm cheekily to Nando's. I'm cheeky like a Nando's.
He's cheeky like a fucking Nando's!
Range to the list of every beverage we've ingested.
Finally making me back here before we're getting downstairs. Make them feel a trash, spend their passions for their hash. Why are the commanders of a bomb such a word? That's the words, that's the words of the words. LAPS.
I actually spilled my pen during that, and I need something to wake up with. That's okay.
I'm a worker being with an upper class taste, got a good sized booty and a pretty waist, got a need and agreed for a fat as a date with a big boy turkey in my kitchen toothpaste. In my eye got something. I got so much cash I buy the whole damn bazaar, got a one on a hunt for a flash ass car. Call me Queen Bee, I'm Empress Bazaar. On a ride and belt like 1, 2, 3 stars. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1, 2, 3.
Well, it's disgraceful fair market, car share, high sticker, sitting liquor, sticker, I'm a killer. Always been the biggest little sister, I'm getting bigger, I'm getting sicker, getting slicker, getting sicky. Got my bitches sticky with me, we keep them busy, keeping richy, never speaking on the shit, we hit, we split, we got cars to be hit, got bars to be fit.
Oh shit. What the fuck is this? This is liquid. Michael, did you not clean this fucking floor? Ah, it's millions, it's sticky. It's sticky, then wipe that shit up. Oh, it's just honey.
What's on this?
What heck's on this? You wish.
The next baby hit the nexus and first while we wreck this shit, dropping checks on asses from sweet fresh cassettes. Ask us, how do we define success? Just back up before lines, we outshine the best of the best. They're obsessed. You're the little critter packer of the little critter started getting hearts been after me feeling bad for these little rappers. Like, oh my god, are they even rappers? Beaten and tattered, sleeping wrapped up in plastic while I'm wrapped up in rapture while I'm flashing plastic facts, fracture, bending over backwards, flat and back. That's. I need a honey, money, ching, ching, buy another bling, bling, do anything for my favorite ring, put my name on a plot like cheese that you'll see, and my first people foot, I'm not pussy, it's I'm not pussy,
Spit bars while we roll around in shit cars. It's a fucking honey farm. Comes to the front, shy guys walking by the bar. Sipping jars while we ripping this mother lover wide open knees, backs broken, choking on gold bullion. Everybody's minds glowing, hands exploding. The fucking honey farm leaves make smoking.
Especially in intimate shit that gigs.
Yeah, look at your hands. Reekie gets a little sexy and I'm sit. Come and take the necky, you'll get trip. I'm a filthy gypsy kid, I'm a dirty hippie kid, I'm a lippy trippy nippy kid. Run around kissing gays, blessed women let me kiss her tails out of Asper Clinic. I'm an awkward orthopedic outpatient. Never got this weird outpatient. Not an ounce of patience, but many pairs of trainers. Wait a minute, breathe inhaler. Get on the stage with a stack of paper, display unladylike behavior. I should grass on demand, many grams, cause I'm cams, no cams, no crumbs, stack notes, stacking salts, emotions, no I brought drugs, salts, and potions. Heavy talking, very joking, weird scat, we rap, and the pressure, and the crash, show me the cash, and I'll turn on the tap and rap like Abracadabra, Alakazam, almost hell, girl, love is time to ask a man. I get more dog than a banking lamb. Honey farm about to be big in Japan, sneaking back from the dam with a rocket in my pocket, I'm the fucking pocket rocket, jumping dog, cup of cover in my fucking sockets.
Gold bricks on my mantle, massive baby ample. Come to my gas for samples of my tasty gleaming brambles. We fly into India, we fly into Japan, we fly into South Africa to see my favorite band. We splash in cash on first fly, we splash in high-grade scram. We supporting Beyond Wood with a robin to their back.
Spit bars while we roll around in shit cars.
Everybody's got a car.
It's a fucking honey farm. Comes to the front, shy guys walking by the bar. Sipping jars while we ripping this mother lover wide open knees, backs broken, choking on gold bullion. Everybody's minds blowing, heads exploding. The fucking honey farm leaves necks smoking. Spit thick bars while we roll around in shit cars. It's a fucking honey farm. Cuts to the front, shy guys bopping by the bar. Sipping jars while we ripping this mother lover wide open knees, then backs broken, choking on gold bullion. Everybody's minds blowing, heads exploding. The fucking honey farm leaves necks smoking.
Is a very hungry house guest and a very vicious house pet. Ain't no taming me, I'm the tiger that came to tea. I'm the tiger that came to tease. Take my fill and leave. Ain't no taming me, I'm the tiger that came to tea. I'm the tiger that came to tease. Take my fill and leave. Ain't no taming me, I'm the tiger that came to tea. I'm the tiger that came to tease. Take my fill and leave. Ain't no taming me, I'm the tiger that came to tea. I'm the tiger that came to tease.
There's a flame in me, there's no taming me. I'm the one that came to see, unashamedly, brazenly claiming the fame and taking what's due to me. It's nothing new to me. Make my kill and feed.
Kitchen biscuits stock, cause sugar, I'm hungry. Keep your biscuits locked up, and this kitty get hangry. Let's talk to the shop, cause my pussy needs a feeding. Get me some delicious love, got me feeling money reason. I'm wild and untamable, wild and unattainable. Pissy, pissy, kissing, kissy, eat them up, I'm tasting cheese.
Tiger T, Tiger G, tiger pouncing on that D, tiger bouncing on that B. Hide and seek, 1, 2, 3. Stripes, you can't see me. I feel so fucking free. I fell up then I
the tea, straight from the teapot. Ooh ha, slipping down my throat. I'm the G-O-A-T, goat.
THX, lighter than THX, better than birthday sex, wetter than something Rex, set to the sound of broken necks. Cash flows like cash and checks, fitness with talk specs, hitting the solar plexus, here and how these breakfast, check this, face let's figure the Texas. Pop music, non-stop music, big pop music, secret music while we cruising, sizing filthy shoes, ass, have another righteous one, battle on the Leviathan, smash 3,000, watch just drop when disgrace one, blood wash down my front. Spit bars like the income, chase with the 151, face the high volume, wait till the 919 by blocking lines. Took bars and like brains and guns, shook in the place of brown, go for a rhyme on Max's tongue. Bailey, I get what I'm feeling from.
Be a little cutie bitch, be a little sad. Be a little fruity bitch, be a little bad. Be a really sweet girl, be full of swag. Be a really neat girl, she's best you ever had. I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm the best. She's best. I'm the best. I'm a goat. I'm a tiger. I'm a bee. Bitch, I'm everything.
This is the big dance break if you wanna.
Ain't no taming me. I'm the tiger that came to tea. I'm the tiger that came to tea. Take my pill and leave. Ain't no taming me. I'm the tiger that came to tea. I'm the tiger that came to tea. Take my pill and leave. Ain't no taming me. I'm the tiger that came to tea. I'm the tiger that came to tea. Take my pill and leave. Ain't no taming me. I'm the tiger that came to tea. I'm the tiger that came to tea. Take my pill and leave. Bye.
Thank you for having us.
The fantastic honeycomb, everybody! So that's whoa. Have you had a good night? Yeah. Good. I'm happy for you. Makes me fuzzy and warm inside. You, Kevin?
I'm fuzzy and quite warm inside.
You're fuzzy.
Warm.
So I want to say a big thank you to everyone tonight. First of all, thank you to Kevin, Harman and Guy and all the artists that helped us sort of curate this space and open it.
We did wonders.
Thank you very much to Lee on the live stream, for our cat and all the team that helped tonight. Thank you to Julia Sorensen. Thank you to Ellen Renton.
To Kevin Harman and to the Honey Farm.
And all you people, we're going to put on some music. I think Kev might keep the bar open for a little bit.
Last night
last orders at the bar.
In a very COVID-friendly way, can you all charge towards the bar? How does that work?
But most of all, thank you to you.
Yeah,
we'll
thanks
see
for
you
coming.
again. Have a good night. Long live live events.